Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Blitz, and in today's video, I am going to be doing a map guide. This is something that a lot of you have been requesting, and the only reason I haven't been doing them is mainly because of the fact I just forget. But today, we are doing a map review, and I think a cool way to structure it is by whatever map we play on. I'm going to showcase why I'm choosing what positioning that is, and then we're going to go over to Strat Sketch and talk about other opportunities with other classes of vehicles, heavies, mediums, and tank destroyers, and how you can play better on these maps. So as we can see, I am currently playing on Dynasty's Pearl, and this is a great map to showcase the hardships of using a light tank. Dynasty's Pearl is probably one of the worst maps to use a light tank on due to just its overall design and capabilities. But, as we can see, I got one shell out. Unfortunately, the 62A was able to return just a little bit of fire. I've put myself in a position that I can easily get out if I need to, and if trouble does end up arriving. We can see the enemy team has a K91 and some other vehicles on the side, and we do get a nice little connection into that K91, which is obviously going to distract him at best, and at worst, he's not going to really do anything to us. So there you go. Nice shot into the Super Conqueror as well. As you can see, we are just being a distraction to the enemy. We are distracting the Super Conqueror. We are making sure that the mediums on the medium flank cannot do anything. We are the distraction. This is what you want to be in these battles. You don't want to be the front line, especially if you're driving something like a Vickers Light, because this is not a frontline tank. But what it is a pretty good vehicle just for distracting, getting some good bleeds out. There you go. Nice shot into the enemy T-62A. Pretty good bleed. We're aiming on that 62A again. Another nice shot for 316. We're bleeding him out quite a lot so far. That 62 is definitely not enjoying his options right now. So we are going to sit. We are going to wait. We can see that the Leopard is moving up, but we are obviously not able to connect the shell into the Leopard. We have the 183 just ever so barely showing me his tank, so if we move up just a teeny bit like this, we should, and there you go, connect a shell into the rear of the FE2 and 5B. Okay, well, let's see if we can get the Super Conch maybe. There you go. Nice 269 shell. The main tank I want cleared right now is that 183, and there you go. We do get him cleared. So we have supported our team, we've gotten bleeds out, and we've done everything that we've really needed to so far. Now we do have a Jagdpanzer who is obviously going to be pushing up on us, and I don't want that. We load in a high explosive shell and clear the enemy Leopard. Then we get a nice shot into the Jagdpanzer, and we drive away. This is exactly what you want to do in a light tank, is bait your opponents, drive away, and force them to put themselves in awkward situations. So at this point, we are obviously winning this game, and that's really no doubt in my mind. This is an incredibly easy victory at that, and it's because we took advantage of our opponents, we played the map properly to the design it had, and got a very easy victory out. We can see the enemy 62A on our flank over here. We get one nice shell for 248, and at this point the 62A really has no clue what to do. We're going to overmatch his side armor, and he is cleared. Now we are at the rear of the Jagdpanzer E100, and, well, the bad news is that the Jag might be able to scrape us off if he plays this properly, but I'm going to try and waste as much of his time as I possibly can. However, as you can see, he does actually end up scraping me off. I just shouldn't have face-hugged him like I did. However, it is not going to matter. We still win, we did our job, and we also did a pretty solid result, if I do say so. So let's wait for this Type 71 to clear the Jag. He should just aim right on the... Well, he didn't fire premium ammo. I guess that's just... Oh well. There you go. A victory indeed. What's impressive is that this game was not as clear-cut and dry as you would think. Our team definitely could have fallen apart, and I'm pretty sure if we were not in mid controlling both flanks of the map, it probably would have been a loss. So we did 4,400 damage, we aced the tank, and we supported our team the best we could. So let's make our way over to Strat Sketch. Let's talk about the map, why we played there, and how Dynasties works in general. And here we have a bird's eye view of Dynasty's Pearl. let's start off with the basics, where the heavies drive, where the mediums drive, and where you shouldn't go. Let's start off with where the heavies go, and that's easy, all the way towards base A. This is where your heavy tanks are always going to drive. It's that simple. You have a lot of cover, you have a lot of alleyways and positions to side scrape off of, use your armor, poke your opponents, and bleed them out. On the heavy flank, you will have to be cautious about tank destroyers possibly sitting on this road back here, especially if you are crossing in the open or trying to get up the stairs. You will have to be cautious about TDs shooting you, or tank destroyers will sometimes push to this bush or this one. These are all positions that you will have to be cautious of, especially in tier 10 when you have vehicles like the FE2 and 5B 183 and the Panzer. This is a very small map, so slower, less camouflaged vehicles don't really suffer that much because they don't need to rely on their weaknesses anymore. They need to just bonk you, and Dynasties is definitely a good map for tanks like the YAG, and for really any higher alpha vehicle in general because of the corners and close fighting proximity. Then we make our way over to base C, which is the medium flank. You can drive your mediums to really any of these positions here I am listing, and these are all going to be really good spots to work, to use your gun depression. Now, to be fair, I don't only drive my mediums to base C. If I'm in any mobile style heavy, WZ-1115A, IS-7, or even tank destroyers like an E3, a Badger, you're going to see me playing them somewhere over on base C. In general, C is the way to go. You have more positions to use your tank's armor, you have more cover, and you have more influence over the map. But sometimes pushing A is a smart play. If you are in a tank, let's say like an E100 or a Mouse, I am probably not wanting to drive an E100 to the side of the map. If I do, it's usually going to be down this road I've just driven here, and I'm going to try and push up and cause a distraction. But that's about all you really can do on a super heavy in base C. Ideally, you want to drive to A, and you want to make your way through either this road, or you want to make your way up here, and that's what you're going to do in the majority of super heavies. Now, in our Vickers Light, we decided to drive our vehicle to this bush here. And the reason why is because it gives me a lot of different opportunities to distract and hold. First of all, I get very good spotting coverage of anything that'll go here. Poking the bush, I can detect tanks making their way down this line, especially slower heavies or the 183, the YAG. That's huge information because it tells me where the enemy team is going and if I should be prepared to leave or stay. It also gives me information on the faster tanks that usually cross wide to a route like this. And as we saw, I was able to get an early crossing shell into the enemy T62A, which was obviously quite beneficial to the team. So just going where I did gave me the information that the enemy team is sending the most of their tanks over towards A, and at the same time gave me the information of where the mediums were going. The second reason this spot is really good is because you have the ability to look into this spot here, and the ability to cover this flank. So you have two different areas that you are able to look at. You can look at the heavies, as we saw that Super Conqueror, and even the 183 we were able to shoot all the way up in the stairs there. So I was able to distract and cause the enemies to back off of the flank they were trying to hold over here. And I was also able to distract the mediums and hold them at the same time. Again, doing two jobs, supporting my team as much as possible. The final reason why I like this spot is because I can easily leave if I need to. We saw at the end of that battle that my teammate, whatever was there, died. And because of that, I needed to get out. So I hightailed it, full speed around, and left before that YAG Panzer or 62A was really a threat. And when you add all of those reasons together, it's one of the major spots you will see me driving light tanks. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the best position. There are a lot of spots. You will see people driving an STB-1 here. In fact, Flossie loves this position because it overlooks the entire road if you have enough gun depression. It overlooks this position, overlooks this position. You've got a lot of views that you can see from that bush. And pushing all the way wide over here gives you the ability to control a large portion of the map, and it makes you very hard to dig out. The only problem if you push wide is, once again, if you do need to leave, you have to go fully wide like this. It's much harder to get out versus, you know, something like this or this. It's just a lot more traversing you need to do. So that is kind of the generic overview of Dynasties. There's really not that much to the map in terms of mediums and heavies. You go here with your heavies and your side scraping, and there's really only a couple spots you'll see me in my heavy. You'll see me probably on the stairs here, and the reason why is this position overlooks the crossing there, it overlooks this spot, and if I want to, I can side scrape off of this, and I can look down the alley. And it gives me basically over overview of the majority of this position. I sometimes will go fully wide over here, and this is a good spot because it lets you see down this road here, and then you can also make your way on up if you want. You can side scrape, you can look. So there's a lot of different positions. If, let's say, the enemy team goes towards base C, what you'll usually see me doing is I'll push up to the stairs here, and I'm going to look at this crossing, and I'm going to try and shoot tanks that are going to cross like this. So those are really the things that I'll do on heavy flank. In most case scenarios, heavies are very easy to drive on this map. Tank destroyers and mediums and lights are definitely the struggle. And when we talk about tank destroyers, there's two different classes. We have heavily armored tank destroyers like the Badger, the E3, the Jagdpanzer, and then we have lightly armored tank destroyers like a Grill 15, like a 4005. These are two different breeds of vehicles. Heavily armored TDs, you actually have really good situations either way. In a Badger, in an E3, you're going to see me driving to this spot here. And I'm going to get hull down, and I'm going to do the same thing I did in my Vickers Light. Hold, bleed. That's all you're going to do. And I can do the same thing in a Badger and, you know, an E3 on this side of the map as well. I can sit on the stairs. I can get good bleeds out. If I'm in a Jagdpanzer, it's definitely going to be a little bit trickier on C side. I'm probably going to sit somewhere more like here, try to push up and get shots into the crossing. But it's a lot easier to go towards A because you're essentially a big super heavy. Now, if you're running lightly armored tank destroyers like a 4005, this is where things get tricky. In a lightly armored TD, you're going to see me in really two positions on A side. You're either going to see me here, or you are going to see me at that spot I was talking about over here. These are the only two positions. Usually if I'm in a faster tank destroyer, I'm going to speed right up into this bush, and I'm going to wait for the enemy to make a misplay, and I'll bleed them out. And if I'm in a slower TD, you'll usually see me staying a little bit further back, maybe here early game, seeing if anybody decides to cross. It's really tricky to drive lightly armored TDs on this map. The grill isn't too bad because it's a single shot, but especially an autoloader like the 4005, that's where things are going to be really, really challenging. And it's even harder on this side of the map. You cannot do anything in a grill. You cannot do anything in a 4005 on C. It's just a fact. If your team goes towards base C and the enemy team doesn't, so let's say this is the enemy team and they end up going like this, then you're fine. Then you're able to drive your tank destroyer all the way over here. You have a couple spots. You can drive it back here to a bush like this, and that allows you to overlook through the crossing of B and get some bleeds out. Or you can obviously flank, and you can support your team. That's pretty simple. But let's say the enemy team drives their team over here, and your team goes over here. What are you going to do in a grill in a 4005? Well, I can tell you for a fact you are not going to be able to have an easy time poking any of these positions here. So what you'll usually see me doing is if the enemy team is spotted and they're all going towards C, I'm going to usually push either around here, and I'm going to try and sit in this position and get some shots off, or you'll see me go even wider up the stairs, and I'm going to sit here and overlook. Those are really the only two spots you can go. Apart from that, it is very challenging to drive lightly armored tank destroyers on a map like this, and it is incredibly team and positional dependent. That is why lightly armored TDs are the most challenging class in the game, because at the end of the day, what are you supposed to do in a grill on Dynasty's Pearl? Well, as I said, usually I'm sitting around here. But in general, it's still a scary situation because you don't know if the entire enemy team's going towards C. Maybe they will have one or two tanks that end up randomly going towards A, and it's happened. And when that does happen, if you're sitting on the stairs here, it could be a very awkward situation. So in general, playing on Dynasty's Pearl is very easy for heavies and incredibly hard for lightly armored tanks. But as we saw in the replay that I had, we had an incredibly solid game to take advantage of our opponents and come out with quite a solid victory. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!